bros want to discuss.
This episode, we're going to talk about some of the top products that John saw at SHOT Show, the reason Matt Rhule is the answer for Husker football, and the most interesting thing we learned this past week. But first, how was your day, bro?
It was a good day. I can't complain at all. I got to have lunch with the wife today. Went out for a work dinner after work. Now I'm here chatting with you. How was your day?
It was really good. Woke up early, felt energized. That doesn't happen very often, and got a workout in to start the day. So I feel like I won the day by about 7:45, and then I got everything checked off the list I needed to do. It was a good day.
Awesome. Sounds like a good day.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your SHOT Show experience. You flew out to Vegas a week and a half ago, and sounds like you had a good time, but what are some of the highlights? And then go into some of the products that you thought were really kind of, ooh, look at that.
All right. Yeah, so SHOT Show was great. Flew out there, went to the show, got to do some networking, walked around, talked to people, and got to check out some of those new products that people were showcasing. Thought I'd jot down like 5 of my favorite things that I saw.
Which one were you most looking forward to as far as a booth to show up to?
That's tough. I don't know that I had one booth that I was looking most forward to, because when you go to SHOT Show, there's people that have things that you haven't seen yet. They don't announce it until SHOT Show. So kind of went out there looking open mind. Didn't have anything in particular I had to go see. So saw some cool stuff. I'll start with the first one. So probably the coolest thing, or top 2 for sure, that I saw at SHOT Show was HoloSun has a new optic that they're releasing. I think they call it the DRS. I don't know what it stands for, but it is a red dot with thermal hybrid optic. So everyone should know what a red dot is. It's just an optic for a handgun or rifle with a red dot in it. A thermal optic is something that uses a sensor to see heat signatures and then display those heat signatures on a screen. This integrates both of them, and it was pretty wild to see. So you can use it as just a red dot, just a thermal, or both. So just a red dot, it's just a plain old red dot, like anything else. Just a thermal, you have the thermal imaging on, but you have something that blocks the optic at the end. So you're not looking through the optic, you're just looking at the thermal image that's projected down there. Or both, you have that. Yeah, it was really interesting. So you could see everything fine, and then there's also a thermal overlay on top of it. So, you could, we'll say a cardboard cutout. You could look at a cardboard cutout of a person, and the one of the actual person standing next to it would be obviously showing a thermal signature, whereas the other wouldn't. I don't know the practicality of it for anything I would ever do. It's very cool. It could potentially be something cool for coyote hunting. I don't know. But it was just really cool to see. They said that it's going to be affordable. I don't know what that means. It's different to everybody.
Well, it's cool
My
that they're coming out with an innovative product and something that caught your eye that I'm sure it'll probably catch on mainstream if it's easy to use. So
Yeah, it looks easy to use, and I saw a ton of mainstream YouTube videos on it. So I think there's a lot of buzz around it. So that was the first thing. That was cool. That really stood out to me. Another thing that stood out to me was something that another one of those things where I said, people release stuff. I don't know about it until SHOT Show. And this was a company that's working with Black Rain Ordnance, who makes ARs. Black Rain does, among other things. And this company's working with, I don't know the company's name, but they're working with Black Rain Ordnance to release this, and it is a bullpup semi-automatic rifle, chambered in 308 initially.
I saw a YouTube video of one of those and looks pretty cool.
Yeah, so I got to handle it. For those that don't know what a bullpup is, that's basically where the action is slid back in the stock for the most part. So you get an overall length of the weapon is shorter. It typically weighs less. It's more maneuverable. It has quite a few upsides. I think there are some downsides to it, but I've never really messed with one.
Is the trigger pull usually a little harder and more firm with that because it's a longer spring or longer action of the trigger?
Yeah, so I think that's typically one of the downsides is the trigger's where it's normally located, but then the hammer is, has to be at the back of the action. So there's usually like a trigger bar or something, I believe, connecting those two. And this is usually pretty long in a bullpup. So you
Probably
can't
close
usually
to
get
12 inches, maybe. I mean, considering being in a tight space, it's now elongated quite a bit.
Yeah. So that can mess with the trigger pull. Allegedly, they've come around this. It sounds like, they're touting a really nice, crisp, fairly light trigger pull. I didn't try the trigger. But I did handle it. I picked it up. I messed with it, and it's light and it feels really nice. And it's an 18-inch barreled 308. So it's not something that's, short range. You could shoot to 1,000 yards with that, no problem. So if it's as good as they're saying, or even if it's mostly as good as they're saying, I think it's going to be a home run. They didn't have a price on that. The guy I talked to said he hopes it's close to $2,000, but it could be up to $6,000.
It'll be easily like 15 times more lethal than any other type of a weapon, right? Because it's shorter.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly how physics works.
Yep.
Shorter is more deadly, clearly.
Yeah. Not many cases that's true, I don't think. But
no.
Well, what's number 3?
Number 3, I'm going to give this one to the M&P 5.7. So this is a pistol chambered in 5.7 by 28, which is a very fast but small pistol caliber round. I've shot a 5.7 before. It was the FN 5.7, who I think had the original 5.7 pistol. And it was fun to shoot. I wasn't terribly pleased with the aesthetics of the FN version. The M&P version looks great. And it's pretty slim, so I think it would be a good carry option as well.
Where does that fall in compared to a 9mm or a 380?
So it is physically, the bullet is physically smaller than both of those. It is basically a 22 caliber bullet, but it's traveling a lot faster than either of those. So what you lack in mass, you make up with in velocity, essentially. That's what the goal of this round is. The other quick thing that I like about this is that it's threaded. Comes with a threaded barrel, and a lot of the nicer stainless steel titanium 22 suppressors, the rimfire suppressors that are fairly cheap, are rated for the 5.7. So you'll be able to suppress this with a pretty small suppressor.
I'm going to go get one.
I think you should. I'm probably going to.
Yeah, no, that sounds awesome. And the recoil and the capacity seems to be a pretty good option.
Standard capacity for that gun, I think, is 22 plus one in the chamber. So 23 rounds on you.
We'll call it my wife's newest sidearm for self-protection.
Yeah.
She needs it.
You should probably get one for her.
She'll fall for it. She'll fall for it, I promise.
Yeah. You should get one for her for your guys' anniversary. That'd be great.
Yeah. I think
or if you can't wait that long, maybe for her birthday.
I can't wait for my anniversary.
Yeah. So that's number 3. Number 4 for me, and I don't think this came out this year. I think this has been out for a year. Is I really liked the Seekins Precision Havoc Element as a lightweight hunting rifle. I didn't get to run the action. I know you said you got to mess with one.
Yeah, I immediately went to Shields after you told me about it on my way to HS Precision, and was able to put my hands on one, and I'd never seen one before. So the action was honestly pretty good. It was up there with some of the best. Definitely a solid looking rifle.
So I don't think the action's probably quite as smooth as some of the better ones out there, but what they did is they made a 70-75 aluminum receiver with a steel insert that the barrel threads into. I believe that's how they did it. And that cuts back a lot of weight. So this is a lightweight hunting rifle meant for carrying long distances, basically. And, I think the short action version weighs like 5.5 pounds, and the long action is 6 pounds. So that's super light. Like I said, I don't think it came out this year. I think this came out last year, maybe. But it was just one of those things that I messed with, and I was like, this is really nice. I could see myself having one of these.
I think the thing I felt the best about that gun was the balance of it. It felt really well balanced compared to most any guns I've ever held. I was a little let down on the action just with the hype of what you were telling me, but I will say it didn't have any oil. It was dry. It was probably hardly ever been ran before, so I bet that it would loosen up and slide a little bit better with time.
Yeah. And one of the things I like about this is I think Seekins is listening to their customers and staying with the times instead of playing catch up. So this is a 21-inch barreled, threaded barrel gun. It's lightweight. Suppressors are getting...
Let's be honest. If you're not threading your barrels, I'm not considering your weapon as an option. That's one of the first things that I'm looking for. Because who wants to shoot, if you have a suppressor, who wants to shoot a gun without it? Nobody.
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 And once you do that, you realize a suppressor on the end of a 24-inch barrel is not that great for a hunting rifle. And so they cut this back to 21 inches for the short action, which I think is a great length. But, so that's my number 4. Number 5, sort of a trend here, is I really, really liked the Bergara Premier Divide bolt action rifle. So this is also a hunting oriented bolt action rifle, carbon fiber stock, carbon fiber barrel. And this one, it felt incredibly well balanced as well. It is a hair heavier than the Seekins, and it has a 24-inch barrel, which I'm not a fan of. However, it felt great in the hand. I think it'd be a great option for a lot of people. They're comparably priced. I I do think the Bergara action felt a little bit better.
The Bergera Actions, I've got a 6.5 Creedmoor in the B14 HMR, and it is butter. It's smooth. It is nice. I got it for 100 or $850, and one of my favorite rifles I've ever bought. It's just that smooth, that fun to operate. The only downside is how heavy it is, and that's why I wanted a Divide. Was it cut down 3 pounds off of that HMR, and so I've been looking for one for a year since last SHOT Show. But tell me what you learned about that.
So as I told you, I said I'm gonna go to Bergara's booth and I'm gonna say, hey, what's up with this? My brother's been trying to get one of these for a year.
Did you say, hey, I'm from the Just Bros podcast and I'm here to talk about your rifle?
No, I should have. They probably would have immediately known what I was talking about.
They just sponsored us probably, but next year.
Maybe next year. So I went to him and I said, hey, what's up with this? You guys released this last year at SHOT Show, but they're still not on shelves. Long story short, they had an issue with a supplier for one of their components. They tried working through the issue, had a hard time, and just decided we're going to bring this in-house. So they brought the manufacturing of that in-house 100%. I think almost everything on that rifle is built in-house now. And they're hoping to have that on the shelves by, I think, April this year. So that was a hiccup for them, which it happens. I get it. But we should be seeing that this year.
Let me, having not been at SHOT Show, anxious to hear what you reported. I was preparing for this and trying to think what is my favorite thing I saw. And it was a Bergara rifle. It was the new B14 squared crest. It actually is lighter than the Divide with a shorter barrel option and a carbon stock and a fluted barrel. I think that actually might be where I end up because the price is actually below the Divide by about $900. That might be the biggest motivation, but when I look into it, it looks like a solid choice for a backcountry rifle. I'll probably look at the 6.5 PRC, and I don't think with how light it is, I don't think it's going to punish my shoulder too much, nor my wife. I think it'll be a perfect elk hunting rifle for her.
I think Tiff needs one for sure.
Probably for Mother's Day.
Yeah. She needs practice before elk season. So
yeah,
I did like that as well. I did hold that one. But I preferred the feel of the Premier Divide. But in the end, they're both going to do great. And honestly, that B14 squared might be the better option, especially for what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for sharing your experience down there. Not everybody gets to go. It's kind of an exclusive event, so you lucky dog.
Yeah. You sort of had an exclusive event yourself. You got to go to HS Precision to work on, or I guess spec out a custom build. Tell us about it.
I did. So a year ago, we sponsored a table at the Wyoming Sportsman's Group Banquet, which is a great cause to raise funds for Northeast Wyoming conservation and youth, opportunities for youth to get into hunter safety and get out hunting. And there's lots of good things that they do for access. But it's a local nonprofit. It's a pretty cool story, actually, how that became about. I met the guys who founded it, and really just go-getters, and they had a vision, they made it happen. And this community is great for supporting anything going on in the community. But we ended up sponsoring a table, and with that sponsorship came a gift certificate to HS Precision in Rapid City. And for those of you who don't know, I wasn't too familiar with them. I'd heard them mostly for their stocks. I think that's kind of what they became a little more well known for. But they have they at the factory in Rapid City, they make everything top to bottom of their guns. They don't outsource anything. It takes about an 8-month turnaround to custom make a rifle. So I showed up. Unfortunately, I didn't get there until just last week. And I had the gun by now if I'd have done it right away, but life happens while we live it. And so I showed up. They helped me through the door. I had my crutches and really nice guys. I got to meet Josh, who's one of the high ups there, and he walked me through the process of what they're looking to do and with options and paint colors and what do you want? He's like, what do you want to use it for? Well, I pretty much already decided I want to have a 7 mil PRC made for elk hunting in the backcountry. I'd consider a carbon barrel, but I really want just to save weight. And if I can save on price, that's important too. So we're already looking baseline for what I'm at here. Custom rifle with them is starting around $4,000. So my gift certificate was for $4,500. Didn't really want to go above that too much. And it turns out I ended up building basically his exact 7 mil PRC that he built a year and a half ago for elk hunting.
You're in pretty good hands with them with the 7 PRC, right? Because they worked with Hornady, it sounds like.
Yeah, so I asked some questions about that. They barreled actions and they got barrels for Hornady as they were testing this new cartridge before they released it. So they typically have a year up to 3 years head start on what's coming down the pipe with new Hornady ammo. And he's in the know, and he's like, these guys know what they're doing. They're absolute experts in the field. I even asked the question, say I wanted to try to develop a load. He goes, why would you? And I was like, I just was asking the question. I was like, these guys have studied it, both ways. They came up with a great recipe. Don't stray from it. It's a proven round. It is an impressive round, and he shot an elk with it this year. Said it did great. The recoil is very manageable. He said it's much more pleasant than 300 mag or any bigger calibers, but still has those high BCs for long range accuracy and knockdown. So we knew that going in, and anyways, it's cool that I ended up basically building, the owner, not the owner of HS, but an executive in HS Precision. I mean, he came to the conclusion that I did with barrel length. He said he wouldn't go any lower than 22, and he would do 22 if he was running a suppressor. So the only difference was the paint color, and he has a 24-inch barrel, but otherwise we have the same gun. And then I learned how to get your length of pull. That was important to note. He had me shoulder the rifle, and I was like, so I shoulder rifle, pull the trigger. He said, don't move your grip, bring the gun down, turn it. And he looked in the crease of your elbow, how many fingers he could fit between the buttstock and your crease of your elbow. And he said, you want one finger, maybe two, and he could fit three. So he added a 1/4 inch to my length of pull. And standard, I guess, is 13.5. So I was 13.75. And it's supposed to help with a better trigger pull and something that kind of fits you. So, I mean, that was basically the only thing that I didn't know going in was what my length of pull was going to be, what kind of paint color and stock I wanted to get. But this should be I'm hoping it'll be my best gun. I imagine it will be. They don't necessarily have any guarantees, but they do produce some tack drivers is the reputation. So,
yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about HS Precision. I think you're in good hands with that build.
Yeah, I'm not concerned, especially after that experience. It was in and out 25, 30 minutes. Answered my questions with just confidence and conviction. They knew what they were talking about. easy decisions, no brainers are the ones I love the most. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. It's not. I don't have to think about it. So I'm not going to go against expert opinion. So yeah, it was a fun experience. I ended up making a whole Tuesday Daddy trip just all by myself. I drove to Rapid, went to Cabela's, went to HS Precision, went to Shields, and at Cabela's I drove around one of the electric golf carts, or not golf carts, but one of those electric grocery carts that go like 1.2 miles per hour, and make a beep noise when you go backwards because I didn't want to crutch around the store. So
Naturally.
I got some goofy looks, but
you have an excuse to use one of those. You might as well use it, right?
yeah. I believe this isn't breaking news, but I believe we may or may not have in high school gone to Walmart and drove them to the farthest possible cart little pickup area in the parking lot. Oh, that was good times. But that was 15 years ago.
Dang, man. You're old.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in our next segment, I kind of want to talk about Husker football each time we're on together. It's something that we both love, and it's always interesting. So I want to explain why I think Matt Rhule is the answer for the Nebraska football program's problems.
All right.
And did you hear that Scott Frost might be going to Miami and Alabama?
I had not heard Bama. I've heard of Miami.
Yeah, there's some interest from Alabama now.
That wouldn't surprise me. Nick Saban's taken guys in that were, we'll say, troubled, but good at their, perspective thing. Scott Frost clearly, some will say, knows his offenses.
I think he does know his offense. I just don't think he could develop and lead, but I think he knows offense. I think he does.
Yeah.
I don't want him to start fresh this fast. It'll hurt a little bit if he's good, right?
But yeah, it would sting.
You don't want a guy to be miserable. You want him to move on. But I think we deserve a year of just no news of Scott Frost for at least a year. We do. I think we earned that with a $15 million buyout.
I think that would be great, honestly.
Yeah.
Give us a break. So, Matt Rhule. So, what are your
the
three things you got on Matt Rhule?
The number one thing, the absolute number one thing, is him. He's the leader, and his staff are just grinders. I think they're grinding out days. I think they're taking each day as an opportunity to get out there and on the recruiting trail, to send a positive message, to prove to parents that they're a good place for their sons to go play and develop as a man and as a student and as an athlete. I think that they're very trustworthy, but I think they're grinders, number one. He's number two. I think he's already recruiting at a pretty high level. You got to think he came in the day after our last game and managed to save a top 30 recruiting class. He landed multiple 5-star transfers. We got 5-star linebacker. We got a 5-star tight end. We got, I think there's another 5-star guy that's coming in. Hard to keep track of, but we got some elite level talent coming in that they just need a good opportunity and a fresh start. Hopefully, they take advantage of it, and we can see some good product on the field. At some point, we got to catch a break with some guys and turn these guys into some good draft picks. And probably the most importantly, in this may sound like breaking news, but I have no sources. The number one overall recruit in the 2024 recruiting class happens to want to come to Nebraska.
You're 100% right on that. And
he wants to come here, and he was basically basically treated as though he wasn't important with the last regime, and now he's been shown he's a priority. Rhule sent the entire coaching staff, all the assistants, on a private plane to his high school the first day that he could do that. That shows we're interested. And I think being that his dad is a legend at Nebraska, not just a player, but a legend.
No, just an absolute legend.
Yeah. He wants he loves Nebraska.
Yeah.
He brought his family up at Nebraska. He wants his son to be happy and make his own decision, but he's not going to be mad if he comes to Nebraska, right?
No, absolutely not.
The hardest part is we're competing against the back-to-back national championship team for this kid.
I would say that I kind of agree with you there. But, I mean, look at the transfer portal. We just took 3 guys from Georgia.
Yeah.
So, winning is great. So I hear. But
by the way, did I not mention he's a quarterback? He's the number 1 recruit in the country, but he's a quarterback, and he's a consensus number 1. Rivals, 24/7, on 3, all say this guy is the best player in the country. We've never gotten a 5-star quarterback. Granted, Ohio State has like 4 at a time all the time.
And it shows.
And it shows. It matters. Oh, it matters. It matters on the field. It matters with recruiting. If you get a guy like that, you're automatically getting at least 3 or 4 more dudes coming in with him. So
absolutely.
I think that's the number one thing is we are now, in my opinion, it makes the most sense. And according to Husker Online, who they are my sources on this situation, they say that it's a horse race, and it's neck and neck, and there's a lot of horse left with Nebraska on this turn. It's the final turn.
Yep.
There's a lot of horse left, and wouldn't be surprised if we pulled ahead. But hey, add that to your prayers tonight. We need some good juice going. Jeez, Louise.
Yeah, we definitely do. Well, hey, how about wrap this up? Yeah. Give me what's the most interesting thing you've learned in the past week?
Well, I'll go first so I can be outdone. But the number one thing I thought was interesting, and it's mostly because it's a little more personal, is I had a friend come over. We were going to watch football, and I ordered pizza, and he goes, "What can I bring?" I said, "Just come on over." He goes, he gets a bottle of whiskey, brings it over. Let me check it out. So he brings over this 10th Mountain Division whiskey. It's from Vail, Colorado. I'm like, that looks cool. And then all of a sudden it clicked, 10th Mountain. Oh, my mother-in-law's dad, my wife's grandpa, was in the 10th Mountain Division.
No way.
I know a little bit about it. Because of this. And so I'm thinking, there's no way that can be the same. Is that the same thing? So I look it up on their website, and it is named after the 15,000 troops who were in the 10th Mountain Division in 1943 to 45. And the fun fact isn't that. It is that actually, after doing some reading and research, I was pretty interested, that 62 of the Rocky Mountain ski resorts were founded by a soldier in the 10th Mountain Division.
Really?
Yeah. They trained in the Rockies for months and years, leading up to the war, headed over to Italy, didn't actually see action, fire any weapons, I don't believe, because the Germans surrendered right before they were kind of getting over the Alps there. But they came back, and they just loved to ski and started a ski resort, apparently. So
that's interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. What do you got? What's interesting on your last week? What did you learn?
Well, this one's kind of random. I stumbled upon it the other day, and it's just something that's super cool. Um, they're called the rods from God. So these are an idea, I guess, that's bounced around for quite a while between NASA and the U.S. Air Force and whatnot. But these things, they call the rods from God, are solid tungsten rods. This is all theory. It's never been done.
Just a second. Are you talking about Luke Skywalker's weapon?
No, not quite.
No.
Not quite.
Okay.
So these rods from gods, they're all a theory. Hasn't ever been done. But basically, the idea is that you could send solid tungsten rods in from outer space as missiles. There's no explosives, nothing else. Just a solid tungsten rod, which, if you don't know, tungsten is twice as dense as steel. So you can have something that weighs as much as steel, but it's half the size. Lots less wind resistance. Things that go along with that. And these things would be moving so fast that the impact would be the same size as the MOAB bombs. The mother of all bombs, as they say. I think they're the largest bombs that are non-nuclear. So these rods are solid tungsten, just sent from outer space, and they're just moving so fast that they create that much destruction.
Oh, jeez.
It's one of those things that I don't know why I ever would have thought about it, but just thinking about it is very interesting to me. And it's possible to do, I think, from what I understand, but the conceivability of actually using it as like a defense or anything like that, it would require, due to how things orbit, it would require so many.
Amount of math.
Well, that's one of the things that would require.
Math is hard.
Yeah, it can be difficult. That's what Excel is for, though. Excel helps you math. But you would need so many satellites carrying these that it's not feasible. It would be so incredibly expensive. Tungsten's very expensive. Having all these satellites filled with tungsten rods to be able to launch at a moment's notice anywhere, not doable. But the idea of a solid tungsten rod falling from outer space so fast that it would be so destructive is interesting.
Yeah, my mind's kind of blown.
So
Not gonna lie.
If you have a minute or two, maybe hop on Google and look it up. Rods from God. I think another, earlier, I think 80s or something like that, they called it Project Thor. So that's my tidbit.
Got anything funny after that? I'm still kind of blown away.
I'm fresh out of jokes. I wish I had one. I'll have one for you next time.
I got one. This might get me in trouble though. I already told it to her. Last little part, and then we're gonna go to hit the hay. But and it's always funny to tell it in the PT clinic when everyone's watching. You almost get in trouble by telling a joke about your wife. But so my wife went missing about a week ago, and the police came in and told me I should probably prepare for the worst. So I went back to the Goodwill and got all of Tiffany's belongings. I thought it was pretty good.
That's funny. Oh, man. Dang it. Oh, she's coming back, ain't she? That's funny.
Well, I'll go back to the Goodwill. But
I guess I'll go pick all that up.
Yeah, prepare for the worst. But no, she's a trophy wife for sure. I just like to get her all riled up about those things in front of the patients because they certainly get a good kick out of it. But
no, that's funny. Well, folks, as always, thanks for joining us, and see you next week.
Yeah, have a good one.
Yeah, me too. I'll see you.